Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Wagmi TV. Today, we are talking about Verasity VRA, a very interesting technology in the crypto space. We've talked about it before. You've heard about it before here on this channel. We're just going to do another deep dive into the technology, what they're trying to accomplish, the problem they're trying to solve, and then also dive into the charts and just see, hey, are we at a good buying opportunity here? I know obviously it's gotten battered like a lot of the alts in the last year or two. But trying to figure out, hey, is it a time to maybe reconsider adding to the bag? So we are going to start here really quick with the whole thesis of why Veracity exists, what they're trying to do, all that good stuff. So first and foremost, the real reason Veracity came up with this technology, right, is to address ad fraud. So essentially, what Veracity aims to do is any single view, click, ad attribution that a company is getting, it's attempting to verify that that is actually coming from a real person, right? Nowadays, there's a lot of people operating, bot farms that will click on ads, watch videos, click on CTAs, and essentially, the company that's running the ad just loses a ton of money. Their optimization gets all thrown off because the statistics aren't correct, right? So it costs a lot of money to kind of lose a lot of those ad spend numbers and those clicks, right? So if we're actually going into what the actual numbers look like here for a second, in terms of ad fraud or ad spend lost to ad fraud in 2023 was about 22% of total ad spend was lost to fraud. And that equates to, somewhere around 100 billion, 84 billion a year. And it's expected to rise to 172 billion a year by 2028. So it's a growing issue. It's growing by percentage and net number as well. And so it's really interesting to see this. Like, this is a problem that big advertisers really run into, and pretty much everyone advertises online now. And you can see, a lot of this percentage of ad spend is coming from North America as well. Between North America and China, obviously, that's going to be the biggest chunk here, about 62%. So there's a real big opportunity ahead of Veracity. If they can capture this, it's a big problem to solve. If they can do it right, if they can show the results, there is a big opportunity in front of them. They're solving the right problem. It's just whether or not they can actually do it and whether or not they have the tech that can get there that becomes the biggest question. Now, I think that if you're part of the Veracity community, if you've been around, if you've been following it, I think one of the biggest things is there's been a little bit of fatigue around, hey, are they actually going to pull this off? Are they going to start signing major clients? They're going to start showing the ROI for people. But one thing on the positive side of that is that they've shown that no matter kind of what they're going through, no matter what the FUD is, they almost always have a pretty high social dominance among altcoins. So you can see here, they're in the top 10 here in terms of most socially dominant and socially relevant altcoins. And that speaks to the fact that they've been able to build such a kind of large community, right? They have over 600,000 people across all of their socials and communities. So whether it's Twitter, Discord, etc., they're able to kind of maintain that front of mind presence. And they're going to have to keep doing that if they want to keep people engaged. But again, I mean, they're solving the right problem. The roadmap is pretty clear on what's going to happen. Now it kind of just comes down to execution. And I know everyone kind of in the Veracity community is ready for them to step up and actually solve this problem, because if they do, obviously that's a lot of revenue to capture. And I think the next step for them to see a real surge in price, in my opinion, is actually signing. I know they've had partnerships, right? The partnerships have been great, but actually showing a real use case, right? A real company that everyone knows, that they spend a lot on ads. Let's say, like, for example, a Nike, right? They spend billions of dollars on marketing every year. So how do we kind of show, hey, Veracity saved them 22% here or 23% here? If they can get something like that, then it's all over, right? I mean, every company would use them. So it's going to be interesting to see where it evolves, but that's a little bit of background on the tech, why they exist, the problem they're trying to solve, and what they're trying to do. But without further ado, I'll hand it over to Mata to look at the charts and just see kind of where we're at, kind of get a vibe check on what the chart looks like, and maybe we're at a buying spot, maybe not, but we'll walk through that here in a moment.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what I was going to say. You pulled the words right out of my mouth, right? You don't typically hear a lot of real world utility when it comes to a lot of these crypto projects, right? A lot of them are very, very speculative. So if this is a problem that they can actually go and solve, right, this is a multi-billion-dollar problem that everybody is going to want to jump into. So if they could really do it, right, and I know VeraViews was kind of their ad fraud prevention program. I think they launched with the UAE specifically in 2024. So would love to get kind of like just a background of like how well that flagship use case is doing. See how well they've done with that and see like what improvements they've made since then, because I haven't heard too many updates on that. And I know what's really interesting with VRA, the token itself, is that it seems like it's mostly long-term holders, right? Before we hopped on today, we were actually looking at a couple of stats, and it seemed like 99 to 98% of the holders of VRA have been holding it for longer than a year, which is really, really interesting to see. But I will say, when we look at the chart, right, it kind of paints that picture as well, right? So this thing, from a very long-term perspective, is down quite significantly from the all-time highs back in the bull market of 21, which, to be fair, this is most altcoins in the space right now. But if we think about it, we're practically down 99% from where we sit today. So maybe some of these folks got exhausted, and now it's just the folks who have just been in this coin for a long time that are like, well, why would I sell when I'm down 99% with the potential that this thing could really pop off for us? So couple notes on that. Obviously, this thing's been beaten down like crazy. We did see a lot of euphoria in 2021. Obviously, there was a ton of money printing, really loose monetary policy. Bitcoin and crypto were kind of the hot things on the block. You had millions of different altcoins being created that were claiming they were going to change the world. So, there's a lot going on, very similar like a dot-com bubble from that perspective. That said, right, we are down pretty significantly, and if you are bullish on the fundamentals of Verasity, that's what I would say is like, this isn't necessarily a terrible time to get into the asset, right? We are at, honestly, even like 3-year lows. The last time we were this low was back in February of 21, before we actually saw the massive uptick, right? So this is what we would typically call on this channel, as we talk about it all the time, a retrace to the scene of the crime, right? So it essentially consolidated, made this massive move up, and now we're finally making it back down to this scene of the crime, right? Where we saw it actually come down here, and we're kind of making a little bit of a double bottom here. So what I have drawn from a short-term perspective, let me change charts here. So on a daily perspective, we have this trend line coming down and really building this wedge and this base of this wedge. So as you can see, we've kind of hit this twice, this green line that we're seeing here. So we would expect a little bit of a bounce off of this. And then what we would actually look to see is, of course, this is the double bottom we saw on the weekly basis. This blue line, this first blue line, is going to be a little bit of resistance. And then, of course, the next blue line is going to be your next level of resistance, along with this wedge pattern. What I will also say on that is, typically with wedges like this, especially as they get smaller and smaller, right, you're going to see this break out in one direction or another, right? That's just how the chart's built out. It's going to have to at some point. For this, right, we've obviously seen it now touch this line 3 times. Typically, the way that we think about it is it's like breaking down a door, right? The first time you hit a door, it's not going to break down. The second time, maybe you have a chance, but it's probably not going to break down. That third time, the hinges start falling off a little bit. You're getting a little bit closer to breaking that door down. By the 4th, 5th, maybe even 6th time, your probabilities of actually breaking through that resistance level, or that door in this case, get significantly higher, right? So as we think about it coming up and potentially bouncing off of this pretty solid support line and moving up towards some of these resistance zones, your hope is that this would touch, potentially have a little bit of a pullback for relief, and then just break out of this wedge. And if it could break out of this wedge, it could actually do some pretty good numbers, right? If we're thinking about coming even back up to some of these levels from here, that would be a pretty significant move, almost 300%. And it was at these levels back in May of this year, right? So pretty good risk to reward value. Obviously, what you're going to want to look at is, from a short-term perspective, this 001-ish level. You're going to want to make sure it doesn't fall too far below that and have some stop losses ready. But if you're a long-term believer in this project, in this program, and in this coin in general, definitely a fantastic time to think about accumulating for your long-term bag. So that's kind of what I'm seeing on the chart.
Love it. Love it. Great breakdown. Cautiously optimistic. I think obviously you got to keep an eye on the 001 level dropping below that, and then also as we go into the wedge, kind of trying to anticipate when will it kind of actually pop out of there. So I think that's a great analysis. And just a quick reminder to the listeners, not financial advice, right? Entertainment purposes only. We just try to get you the most updated information, content about all the projects we cover. But that's going to do it for today. So if you found it interesting, like, comment, subscribe. We'd love to hear what you guys think of VRA. Have you been, like most, a holder for longer than a year? Have you just, been introduced to the product? It'd be really interesting to hear what you guys think. So drop a comment below. We'd love to hear from you. And until next week, Wagmi.